Yay Networks.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Spill the Beans podcast.
Happy end of the week. I can't believe it's April.
Yeah, guys, how do you like the new Office review?
Guys.
Babe, these chairs you got, these Louis Vuitton chairs you got are amazing.
Guys, literally, just give us some time, okay? The shipment is on its way. It should
April
get here
Fools.
by the end of the month.
That was for all the Thursday listeners. I wanted to kind of scare you, but...
Not the Louis Vuitton.
Do they even make chairs?
Maybe.
So.
We're not richness enough to know yet.
Yeah, I guess.
But anyways, guys, we hope you had a good week so far. I know we have, because Miss Belen is 5 weeks old, which means in 1 week she'll be 6 weeks, which means I got my 6-week postpartum checkup. I'm cleared and I can start getting active.
Yay.
So that's our update every week. It's easier, thankfully. And for now, we're back at work and my morning vlogs are back on TikTok. So go follow me, please, and watch my vlogs. Thank you.
Yeah, she's still, that's a funny word, but she's an amazing baby regardless, right? But all babies are amazing, but her attitude is still very chill, very mellow.
Yeah.
She's a great girl.
Still sleeps a lot.
Still
all
sleeps
day, all night. Sometimes not all night, but that's okay.
Yeah, and Blanca is just a superhero, guys. She makes it look so freaking easy. There's times where, like, I try to stay up late with her, and I'm like, babe, I just want to help you. No, go to sleep. And she does it all, man. She's crazy.
Yeah, I just think being a second-time mom is easy. It's easier. I really think that going from 0 to 1 is harder than from 1 to 2, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you just don't know. I feel like everything in life is easier the second time, right?
Yeah.
Even when you go somewhere, like, say you go to on a trip, and the way back's always faster.
Yeah, and if you guys
Feels
hear
faster.
any squeaks or grunts, it's Belen. Just in case you guys thought it was probably a new puppy.
Babe, can I tell you that red is your freaking color? Where'd you get that?
This is the Self-Love Club merch from Yadira Campos. Follow her on Instagram, guys, our photographer. Ms. Belen is very vocal today, just in case you guys are hearing her. But yeah, that's where this is from. And look at my socks. If you're not watching, I'm wearing white socks with red hearts. It looks like it's Valentine's Day over here.
Yeah, baby. You got the memo 2 months later, but I'm glad you came through. Because you've had that sweater for a long time, guys, but my fault. I'm the one that picked it up from the P.O. box.
Yes.
Or from the mail in general. And I had it in my Jeep, and I had it in the backseat. Like, if you follow the vlogs or me on Instagram, I let you guys know that we don't really drive the Jeep, or I don't. I drive it like once a week maybe, and it's like it was just back there. So sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, it's perfect. I don't know if she's ever gonna restock it, to be honest. But if she does, you better get your hands on it because it's really pretty.
Yeah. And they also came out with a really nice hat that matches the vibe. I think that was more Adrian's merch, but your boy is not a hat guy, so I look horrible with hats, guys, so I did not cop that, but they are amazing.
They are. Do you have any other updates, babe? Oh, I have a good update. Because this is going out Friday.
Yeah.
Guys, today, in a few hours, go check Instagram because I'm not really sure what time we're restocking. But we are, well, not restocking. We're dropping new sweaters. And Jonathan is doing the honors over here, showing exactly what it's going to be.
Oh, yeah. It's Blanca's merch, the God Goals Glowing and Growing, with the emojis in the front. God, goals, glowing, and growing.
Yep.
But it's on a sweater, guys. 2 different crew necks. One's gray and the other one is blue.
Yes, it's my spring edit. It's very colorful and cozy. It's so cute. So make sure you go follow us on Instagram because you'll know exactly what time it'll go live. Guys, we promise our studio's going to come soon. Just hang in there for us.
Yeah, and we were also talking about, like, dang, like, we miss having guests, you know?
Yeah.
We miss having our friends, or, like, we want to start bringing, like, more people, not necessarily, like, influencers or YouTubers, just, like, people that have, like, different jobs in life.
You know who we should have?
Who?
That one banker guy.
Yeah, he was so cool.
He was so cool. And guys, don't worry. Kaylee and Marco are still coming, except they're on their honeymoon right now. They are traveling the world,
and
girl.
we're also waiting for the office for them.
Yeah, we're not going to bring them into our living room to talk about finance. Yeah. It's going to be a proper office. But anyways, guys, today I want to talk about this because you guys know me. I'm in my therapy through social media era, and I found this psychologist on Instagram, and let me show you what her name is so you guys can go follow her. So this is the.holistic.psychologist, and she has a lot of really good posts all the time. Basically, I came across this post and I was like, oh my God, this literally spoke to me. And I know that it's going to speak to a lot of you guys too, because I know we have a lot of Hispanic followers, and I feel like this is kind of more stereotypical in a Hispanic household. Whether you have, like, if you're an older daughter, if you have an older brother, it's still like you still have oldest daughter syndrome, you know? But anyways, yeah, so it's called The Holistic Psychologist on Instagram. And I saw this post and I saved it because I was like, wow, this is like, it spoke to my heart, right? So it starts with, you were the oldest daughter who became the protector of the family, even though all you ever felt was unsafe. Here's what life was like for you. And I like read all of these. I was like, oh my God, this is literally me. And that's why I want to talk about it. But anyways, should I read all of them, do you think? Do you want to read them? I'm out of breath.
You knew as a child that your role was to be a little adult, to hide how you felt, to ignore your needs, and to keep it all together for everyone else around you. Dang. The adults around you didn't show up for you and were put in your position where your childhood wasn't play. It was work. What does holistic mean?
Like whole, like
I thought it was like hippie.
Yeah, kind of like that, I think. Oh my God, don't cancel us.
So is this like an actual psychologist? Like she has a doctorate?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know, she's good.
You never got the support and love to know you were valued for who you are, not what you do. So your adult life is an exhausting pattern of repeating the same cycle of perfectionism, anxiety, codependency, and a history of taking love in the form of breadcrumbs. A part of you is still that little girl who thinks it is your responsibility to fix everyone and everything around you. Check. You tell yourself you're independent. You take pride in making it work no matter what. But you don't talk about how broken your heart actually is, how much it hurts to not be able to trust, how deep down you want to be protected for once. You want someone to show up for you in the way that no one ever did. For someone to notice the invisible emotional burden you've carried and say, I'm here for you now. You can put this down. The truth is, you are who you've been looking for. You know in your heart it's time to learn it's no longer your job to fix it. Be perfect or neglect yourself to be what others need. You are the person who woke up from the generational cycle, who wants better, who knows what she knows that she can grieve her childhood and build a new future for herself, and you will. Check. Were you the protector who needed safety? Let's talk about it in the comments.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, babe.
So I think that it's crazy because, like, growing up, that's how I felt, right? But
Yeah.
I never thought, like, I was like, this is just my life, you know, like, this is just normal. And until I became an adult and I started, like, reading about, like, oldest daughter syndrome or, like, a bunch of things, I was like, oh, damn, like, this is actually, like, this isn't right, you know, like, that's not how a child is supposed to grow up. And do you think it's the same for you, or do you think it's a little bit different because you're the oldest child, or the oldest?
No, I think older women, definitely the older sister, have it the way worse. Like,
Yeah.
you guys have this sense of like women, like no matter how dirty you do women, they're always going to be there to like help you and nourish you and protect you.
Yeah.
Like moms, no matter how mean you are to your mom, she's always going to be there for you. So I feel like as the oldest son, I could check out sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck this. I'm not getting treated right later. And I would go either play soccer. But I know my sister, I also have a sister after me. I feel like no matter how much my family might hurt her, she's still going to be there to take care of my brothers or to help the family, you know?
And she's kind of like on the TikToks I watch, it's like my Hispanic family listens to me. Like my mom comes to me for advice.
Yeah.
For my sisters or for the household in general. And I was like, when I was reading, I was like, wow, this is so true. You have so much put on your plate that you don't even get to be a child or a teenager. Like you just go straight into being the problem solver for everyone.
Especially, I feel like with Mexicans, it's like Hispanic, Latinos in general. It's like you know the whole meme. It's a meme, but it's also trauma.
What?
Like oye, me llamaron del IRS, like, ¿qué dice el papel? Or like that they get a paper from the government and you're 7 years old and they're like, ¿por qué no sabes inglés? ¿Por qué no me puedes? You know, but it's like big words. So I feel like you also, you don't have a childhood, you know?
I think my trauma was, since it is tax season, actually today, when we're filming, April 15th is the last day you can file before you get fined. That was my trauma, that they would take me to do their taxes and they were trying to have me translate all these words. Like I was their translator and I'm like,
but you have an older brother.
Yeah. So that's the crazy thing is that I have an older brother. He is 31 and he didn't have to go through any of this. You know, like I feel like as a daughter, you just become the problem solver and almost, there was another one. I wish I would have saved it, but it's called like the golden child syndrome. Yeah. Like you kind of feel loved for what you provide and not just for who you are, you know?
And you know what's crazy? It's like you're part of the cycle because your mom was also the oldest daughter.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's everything is in we talked about this last night, like our subconscious is so much stronger than we know, but we don't realize it because your mom, I just realized this the other day, babe, like she tells her stories from Mexico, right? And she tells them so happily and so proudly, like she enjoyed like the responsibility of having to wash everyone's clothes or all the men's clothes.
Hand wash.
Or she had to cook for all because for those that don't know, Blanca's mom has 7 siblings and she's the oldest daughter. So it was just a boy and then her. So she had to wash for everyone. She had to clean for everyone. She had to cook. And the way she tells us that story makes it seem like, I was my mom's like biggest helper. I did all this. But then the other day I was like, I want to talk to your mom about this and have her realize that she didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have. She lost her childhood. Like, she talks to us that she had a good childhood and stuff like that, but she grew up very quickly.
But she wasn't ever a child.
And she always had responsibilities, you know? And it's like, I was like, do you know, like, in a way, like, you lost a lot in life because you had to do all that.
Yeah.
Like, while you were washing, 7 other people's clothes, you could have been out studying for school or working on yourself or playing with all the other kids in el barrio, you know? But, so...
Yeah, like
it's crazy how it repeated with you.
Yeah, because my mom always, she like tells us pridefully, I never let my mom do anything. I always helped her. I always cleaned. I always cooked. I always washed the clothes. She's like, I knew getting home, I had to cook, clean, wash clothes before I could even think about asking to go out for like 30 minutes with my friends. And like she says it so pridefully, but I'm like, that's trauma, you know? Like you were just never a child. And I feel like she kind of tried to instill that in me because it was the same. Like I literally have a YouTube video that it's like if I don't clean the bathroom, I can't ask permission to go out. You know. Yeah. So it's just so sad when you think about it because I feel like in that generation, like all these moms had babies to take care of their babies. Yeah. Like they didn't have children to be children.
Or to like love them properly.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like a lot of, and I've said this before, a lot of, I'm just going to stick to Mexican. It's not like to not include everyone, but that's what we are, you know? So I can't speak for every culture. But when we're Mexican, we adore our babies. You know, they're so cute. Mira, bien cachetón. But then that little kid grows up to be 5 or 6 and it loses its like puppy phase or whatever. It's a kid now. And it's like, ay, estás bien gordo, estás bien cachetona, mira qué fea estás, you know, or something. Because I've had aunts talk to my girl cousins like that before. And it's so like, in the moment, everyone cracks up. But how do you think that little girl goes to sleep at night, you know?
Well, and it's even like in their subconscious. Yeah. Like how your dad was saying last time too. That's like maybe she doesn't react to it then, but she's going to grow up thinking like, oh my God, I'm fat.
And then that aunt that I remember clearly calling all my little cousin girls like, girl cousins like fat and stuff, she's the aunt that my dad told us about that like she had to hide her smile because she has one of those smiles that shows a lot of gum. So then her brothers and her mom or dad would also bully her. Oh my God. It's just a cycle. It's like a vicious cycle that just repeats itself, you know?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's why we're here to freaking break it, guys. Because I feel like when Jonathan and I when we found out we had a daughter, when we found out we were going to have a baby girl, he talked to me right away and he's like, because he knows like coming from my mom and like everything that he's got to experience with her, he's like, babe, like we need to be sure that we're going to raise these kids very healthily in the sense that you're not going to praise Franco and you're not going to like put all this burden on Belen, you know? Yeah. And now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, that's true. Like I don't like, I kind of like the way that your mom brought you up because you still cleaned, like you still had chores, you know? But even for my brother, like my mom It was me. Like my brother would go and do whatever he wanted, but I couldn't go and do whatever I wanted until I cleaned. And that's even if she wanted to let me go at the end of the day, you know? And it was never like in a bad way. Like it was just chores for me.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, I'm like, well, I didn't have to do all that, you know?
No, you didn't. And then what's like cool about my parents now, it's that like my sister, I don't think she does this now, but back when she was in high school and stuff and she was younger, my parents like paid her to do all the boys' laundry to help them. So it's like, you want an extra bit of cash, you know, do help us with laundry. If you but you don't have to. Yeah. But you'll get rewarded. And I think that's perfect. I don't think young kids should be paid for everything. But if you're going to make them wash everyone's clothes, I think there has to be a reward system because, like you said, it's messed up when you have kids to help with your other kids, you know?
Yeah. That's the one thing that we don't want to do. That's why we always talk about how we are very cautious when we talk about having a third kid or even more, because we're like, well, how much attention are we going to be able to give them? But basically, like, all of this leads me to talking about like how like blessed we are to be where we are, because I remember when I started doing YouTube full time, I dropped merch, actually, God Goes Glowing and Growing, and I made a big check. And the first thing I did was give my mom $2,000. I was like, here you go, Mom. Like, this is for you, whatever. And then anytime after that, when I started making money on YouTube, I would literally give my mom $1,000 every time I got paid. Yeah. And I started picking up on like, oh, the girls need clothes, I'm gonna take them shopping. Oh, the girls need the supplies. I literally took on the role. And for me, it was because I wanted to help my mom and kind of repay her for everything she did to me. Because my mom literally gave my brother and I everything, guys, everything, even though we were very low income class, you know? Yeah. And so growing up, I admired my mom. Like I still do. She's literally perfect in my eyes, right? But when I started making money, I was like, I'm going to take care of all of this. And I remember Jonathan and I never talked about finances like that because we weren't married, you know? But I remember, I think we had just gotten married. And I had told you, like, in a conversation, it came up how much money I made from that first drop.
No, I remember, I think I know where you're going, but when Bonfire reached out for the couples channel. Oh, yeah. So I think you already had the Bonfire account. So I had seen how much you made previously. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, babe, you made this much in merch? And you're like, yeah. And I think the first time I was like, good for you, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like the second time or whatever, I was like, so where's the money? You know,
what'd you do to the money? And I was like, good question. I literally used it all. And it's so funny now that I think about it, because I'm like, I could have easily gone to buy a nice Louis Vuitton, especially because they were so cheap back then. Yeah. And I just remember that I spent it all on my family and on the house. You know, like I started picking up bills. I started buying things, groceries. Like I was really into fitness. So I bought a bunch of protein powder. Like I just did everything for the house and for my family, you know? And for me, I feel very, very, I'd say lucky and blessed that I have that mindset, because what I was telling, I've had conversations with my mom, and I was like, growing up, it was harder or like tough on us because my dad wasn't like a father figure for us. He was kind of just there. And I just talked to her. I'm like, if I had a different mentality, I would have grown up and like cut you guys off and left. You know, because of how much trauma you subconsciously instilled in me. Yeah. But I'm so blessed that God gave me that. Like I grew up and all I wanted to do was take care of my mom, you know?
And then I see those TikTok trends where it's like, say something you're not afraid to say or something like that. And then the second slide is something in regards to Mexican trauma. And that's crazy how both you and I are kind of like the oldest child, yet we think, and because of our experiences, we think very differently. And that leads us to like have conflict. And like where it said, the girl on the TikTok said, you know, blah, blah, trauma with the song. And then you cut the slide and it says, your parents figured it out before you. So trust me, they will figure it out without you still. Yeah. So obviously with Blanca, like coming in and making all this new money, it's in a way caused very by you. It's not like your parents have ever, or your family has ever asked you for money. Yeah. But you never. Yourself have been like, okay, I'm the breadwinner now, which has kind of in a way put everyone, or not everyone's guard down, but like I'm trying to be careful with my words because sometimes I can't really express what I'm trying to think. but like in a sense, like you put yourself in that position now, so you have that pressure.
Yeah.
Whereas like me, my parents, even when they weren't well off, they always figured it out somehow. Either they started a new business, they were always trying to do. My mom went back to college, got her degree. My dad started his own company, and then this and that. And they were, and ever since I was little, they would always tell me, hijo, y si compras una máquina de cortar zacate and you start your own little business, look, you can start. Or cuando nevaba, hijo, salte a offer the neighbors to clean their driveway for $10. That was always entrepreneurship. So
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Now that we're like grown up, I told Blanca, I was like, babe, your parents paid rent, right? Or they bought all this before you made money. I was like, they're going to be okay. Or you kind of have to keep letting your Mexican family take care of things, Like, yes, in case of an emergency or something, you will be there. But then I've kind of stopped telling Blanca that because I just didn't live through that. I don't know what it is to truly have a family that's suffering and me being able to help them. My parents have always made more money than me, so they've never needed like, hijo, nos prestas $100 ahora, or can you help? Never, never, never. My parents have always found out a way to, figure it out for all 5 of us. So I just don't know. So I stopped telling Blanca that because it's just two complete different experiences that, at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell her to not help her dad. I'm not going to tell her to not help her mom,
Yeah.
So I just got to support my wife and support her as much as I can to where like I know they're not taking advantage. Because if I knew, I saw a TikTok the other day, it was really sad. It was this girl that was like pretty well off, and she shared like 15 screenshots with the sad song saying, hola, es tu tía, me prestas dinero, ándale, es que blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then the girl at the beginning was very like, okay, like dry. And then, but like constantly asking her for money, and her mom, her dad, her sisters, everyone. And then, when you hear the stories where someone asks you for money, like relatives from Mexico, and then you say no and they get mad at you.
Yeah.
She started like saying like, no tengo, no puedo. And the relatives would be like, ay, que coda, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so I feel like as long as it will never turn into that with you, because your family is very, like, they're not like that at all. So as long as it keeps being, healthy, I'm just going to continue to support you, because...
Yeah, because it's always been through me. Like, they've never... Well, when I was living with my parents, they did ask me to help with rent. And as soon as I started working, my dad did ask me to help, like, just paying my own phone bill. And I did have to pay with the light bill. I had to help pay the light bill because I did sleep with the light on every single day of my entire life. So... Other than that, like when I started making money on YouTube, the first thing that, like, the light bulb that went into my head was I need to take care of my family. And I think it's because I just knew how much we suffered growing up, and I didn't want my sisters to suffer the way that we did. And I think it's also a lot to do with like my mom and knowing her story and how much she suffered. Like my mom went through a lot, and given the fact that her parents were really, they were really good about making it out, like they struggled, but because my grandpa was planning to make something for them. And at the end of the day, like my grandpa ended up buying a house for them, and they were fine, but in that process, they struggled a lot. And in my dad's sense, his family struggled a lot, but because they weren't responsible. They didn't know how to do good with the things that they had. Like my grandpa could have been the freaking biggest baker in Durango, right? And he could have had so many bakeries, and all of his sons could have taken on his legacy, but he just so I think knowing that, like, I just wanted to, like, I wanted to grow up and just be my mom's mom, like take care of her and like give her everything that my grandma couldn't, and in a way that's toxic of me too, because it's just, I don't know, like it pulls at my heartstrings a lot. But I remember when Jonathan and I started traveling, every single time we would go to the airport, an immense amount of guilt would hit me. And I'm like, why am I doing, like, why do I get to do this? My mom couldn't do this. Like, why me? And I remember just being so freaking sad, and I wouldn't get okay until we landed wherever we were, and I started getting distracted, like with our friends and stuff. And I think that's why every time I make money, like my first thing is, how can I help my parents? Yeah. And then I go and buy myself whatever I want, like go to Target or whatever. And to this day, guys, like ever since I started making money, my mom and I go to the store, Marshall's, Target, grocery store, Sam's, wherever. She does not lift her fingers. Like, I have never let her pay. Like, she's fought us,
Yeah.
to pay, like, for stuff, and I just can't. And in a way, I do think that I need to kind of explore that in therapy, because I need, like, I would love to continue doing it, but without the guilt behind me, you know, like, just because I want to and it makes me feel happy, but also I just don't want to feel guilty anymore. Like, I want to take the guilt out of my heart.
I forgot who said it, but it's like when we go through difficulties in life, at the moment we're going through them, it's the worst thing ever. But when you hang out with your friends 10 years later, those are the moments you talk about, and you reflect on them, and you kind of are thankful you went through them. And then like, that's where, like, we're the oldest, but we're totally completely different. And like, now that you say, like, I don't want my sisters to suffer, but it's like, before, you know, they moved in here with us, and they got a little taste of, you know, el cuñado, the hard, because I'm hard on them, but like, they also love me, right? So I'm like, hey, you guys need to start being because when they first got here, guys, they were like little brats. So I was like, you guys are ungrateful. You guys don't realize how much your sister does for you, or your mom does for you. You guys have brand new iPhones, and Julissa didn't have an iPhone until she was like 15 or blah, 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 etc. Right? And it's like, by also spoiling them, you also hurt them in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't want to see your siblings struggle financially, but giving them too much can also leave them, you know? Yeah. And now as they grow, that's what I love about girls. Girls just grow and mature so quickly. And now they do realize, oh shit, like this and that, you know? But there was a time the other day where I was like, oh, let's go to shrimp boil. It was like a Friday. I picked them up from school. And they're like, and we all know shrimp boil is really expensive, right? So, you know, it's like a luxury for us, you know? Well, back then more than now, because they made one in our town. And I also feel like it got cheaper, right?
Yeah.
I remember seafood boil used to be...
Maybe it's because they're in season. Yeah. I don't know. It's just the produce always changes price.
And it was a Friday, and they were like, nah, I'm not really craving that anymore. Or I don't really like juicy seafood anymore. One of your sisters, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you I felt so hurt. I was quiet the whole ride home, and I wasn't mad at them, but I was like, they're so like accustomed to the nice things. Yeah. Like, when would you have ever gone to seafood?
I think like the first thing... You barely got
Starbucks.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came up to me. I remember when Jonathan and I started dating, ooh, girl, Starbucks was a luxury on a Sunday, and a venti. Remember? Like, we would save our pennies. Well, you, babe, because you paid for everything when we were growing up. It was like a luxury, and I remember like drinking it so good, so slow, because it was like the once in a week or once every 2 weeks type of thing. And now I'm like, damn, my sister's like, it was your fault too. But for the first, like when they started high school, my sister started high school, Starbucks todas las mañanas. And we didn't stop until literally Starbucks got canceled, you know?
Yeah.
And I know like now I'm harder on my sisters. Like when they were little, I used to spoil them a lot, just because they're little, you know, and I just wanted to buy them anything that they wanted. But now I like talk to them more, and I think that just as they get older, they see the value of things. And especially because I think it all started when we started like paying them to help us, like when we started our brand.
Or your older sister started working.
Or my older sister started working, and she realized that $100 is a lot of freaking money. And even when I took her on like a shopping spree, oh my God, this is so funny. I took my sister on a shopping spree for her 15th birthday, and Jonathan was editing the clip, and he looks at me, he's like, well, this was a lame shopping spree. And I'm like, I know, like I was expecting her to go Tory Burch, Lululemon, freaking Aloe Yoga, because we were at Cherry Creek, which is a mall with all those stores. And no, she literally just got what she needed. She's like, I need to restock on a few things at Sephora. I want a few jeans for school, and that's all. I'm like, okay, girl. And I think it's just because they're starting to understand the value of money, you know, and also understand that they have it way better than anybody has ever had it, you know. So it's hard. Like, it's hard balancing the guilt and then the pleasure, because I feel like I get a lot of pleasure too from helping my family and just knowing that. And I think that I also take it because you guys know that saying where it's like, the more you help your parents, the more God helps you. And I just can't help but see it as it's true, You know,
Yeah.
like my whole life I've lived to help my parents, and we have like, thankfully I'm very lucky, very blessed. I haven't had a struggle in that sense anymore, you know?
But it also, like, we're not going to get too much into, like, your dad and himself.
Yeah.
But it would also help if you had a dad that, like, I don't know. Let's just use Santi's dad. We all know who Santi is, the YouTuber, TikToker. His dad is very, like, we love him, right? Big, what's his name?
I can't remember.
He has such a funny, young, little Polo. Little Polo. And he gives him an Escalade. He bought him a house. He does all this. But, like, in a way, he, like, appreciates it and takes care of it.
But he still works.
And he still
like,
works.
Still...
Whereas, like I said, I'm not going to go into it. Don't even ask in the comments, guys. But if you, like, when you give your dad stuff, it kind of, like, spoils him. And, you know, it, like, it stops him from working harder.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, oh, my daughter's got it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, another, like, I don't know what the good way to describe it, but, like, a good dad would be like, gracias, hija. I'm going to put this aside in case of an emergency. I'm going to keep supporting my family. Whereas, like, you know, so that's where that anger of, like, babe, you don't have to do this comes from. But because things would be totally different.
Yeah, it would. And I just think, like, I would never talk. I don't think I would ever open up about, like, my dad and his family, but it just stems from your parents, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like his dad never was a father figure to him. And his dad was an alcoholic. So my dad became an alcoholic. And then my dad, like, it was very, because you guys know how there's that saying, it's like, there's 2 kids and an alcoholic parent and a drug addict parent. And one of the kids grows up and says, I will never be like my dad. And another one grows up and he's like, well, my dad did it. So, you know, so like they fall into a very victim mentality. And it's just been like that. I've had to deal with a lot of that. And I think, I mean, it sucks, but, you know, like he's still my dad and I still help him. And just like props to him because he's an amazing grandpa. You know, like my dad could be a lot of things, but he is such an amazing grandpa. And like Franco is so obsessed with him. And my dad, like, just like he knows how to, it's just funny because he knows how to be like a dad to other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To his nephews.
To like Franco.
Random kids,
yeah. But like to us, I don't know. Like I cannot even imagine the amount.
Even to my brothers, like when he sees them, I noticed that he's like, ¿Cómo les van a escuela? Like the other day, I was like, when have you ever asked your own daughters that? Like, but you know.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like I cannot imagine the amount of trauma my dad has, or like I can't imagine what goes through his head. I can't imagine what he's had to deal with and struggle with, which doesn't really give you like the excuse to not work harder, you know. But yeah, I just like.
It's just chains and chains of like curses.
Yeah, and it's like until you find someone that wants to break them and is strong enough to.
I feel like whoever started, like, you know, what are those things called, babe, that Hawaiian people put over them, like their flowers. Lace.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I got lace.
I feel like like for like Mexicans specifically, it's like instead of putting a lei on your kid, you put a chain on them, a heavy ass chain, one of those like chains that tow boats and shit, and but then, let's say the very first person, your great put one on your great grandpa, right? But then your dad has like, it accumulates. He has 10 of those heavy ass chains, and then to your brother Joe, which is a whole different story, but kind of the same as your dad now. Unfortunately, now he has 11 chains on him. Yeah, and you just got to be the person to be like, fuck this. I'm gonna take these chains off. You know. Yeah.
I'll break them.
Yeah, I'm gonna break them because I'm not gonna give those chains to Franco. Yeah, they end there. And luckily, I'm not gonna say my dad passed me any of that stuff. My dad's been a wonderful dad, so I can truly say now that I'm not passing anything toxic from my dad to Franco. You know?
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of Hispanic dads never had the strength to break the curses that they were given. You know, and yeah, I mean, I have a lot of empathy for my dad. Yeah, I'm just like, I have empathy for everybody, but for my parents, like I have a lot of it. And growing up, I used to really dislike my dad, right? Because our relationship was shitty, and I just think I disliked him because I thought I was a really great daughter, and I didn't think that, like, I was like, what more could you ask from me, right? You know, and before I made money, like I was just a good kid in school, had good grades, did sports, everything, whatever. And I remember seeing a TikTok that like broke me down, because it's like, just envision your dad as a little kid, and like envision him and how he was when he was a little kid. I'm like, damn, like my dad never got to be a little kid, you know, and nobody in his family got to either. Like they have struggled so much for so many years, and so I have a lot of empathy for him. But also I've learned through a lot of like self-reflection and reading a bunch of things, it's like you can have empathy for them, but you don't have to figure it out for them.
Fix their problems. Yeah.
Especially if they're not willing to fix it themselves, you know.
And something is like common sense. Like, if you had a tough childhood, then why are you making it tough for your kids now that you have them? You know.
Yeah.
Like if I got hit a lot when I was little, why would I hit Franco?
Yeah.
You know. So
even though that's what's instilled in your brain,
you can empathize for them, but you also like there comes a point where you're like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like I heard this. It's like so far. Like you might be like, oh, what does that have to do? But it's like kind of the same. Like this guy from Alabama, he said he like escaped his little town because they were so racist, and like his dad was racist and all this stuff. And it's like a lot of people tell me like, oh, I'm surprised you know it didn't come out like that. That's all you knew was racism, you know. And he's like, no, there comes a point where when you're little and your dad tells you, keep saying the N-word and stuff, and you're white, but there comes a point where you're old enough to know that's not okay.
Yeah. And
you feel it in your heart, no matter how much your dad pressures you into saying, you know, black people this, black people that. There comes a point where you know what the right choice is. And and that's why I left. And there's other kids that embrace it, all, you know.
So, my parents, so I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah, so that's what I say. Like, empathize for your parents or whoever caused you trauma, but also know that they, you know, they didn't need to get picked up and put in rehab. They see the damage they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
They just choose not to fix it.
Yeah, I think that's how I've been. The older I grow, and my brain did finish developing. So I feel like I've gotten a little bit more mature. But yeah, the more I grow, I just realize like I can empathize for my dad and I can love my dad. That doesn't mean that I have to do all the extra stuff, you know. You
know how they say men, our frontal lobe develops or finishes at 25. So what's women's? I never heard.
25 too. It's everybody's.
Oh, then when do they just clown men? Like, oh, men.
Because you guys actually don't mature until you're 25, but women mature faster.
But that stuff is actually true, guys. At 25, so true. I don't want. I've never been a materialistic guy for like cars or stuff, but now I really don't. Like, I want to return my Jeep. I was like, let me get a little $2,000 Honda stick shift and go. But you know, you do. It's like something happens when you turn 25. You just don't. I went to Dick's Sporting Goods the other day because I was going to buy a new wedding band. Is that what it's called? Wedding band? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, these Stanleys look really cool. Like, I've always wanted a Stanley, you know, because you have a lot, but they're all girl colors. I was like, I need to drink more water. I'm going to get myself one. And then I went to the indoor shoes, and they were literally $44 indoor shoes for soccer because the ones I've been playing for like 2 years don't fit me. They fit me really tight. And I was like, but then I just left with my wedding band. Like, I didn't get anything, you know? Yeah. And it's just that frontal lobe is frontal lobing too hard. Yeah, I feel like men at this age kind of become very financially. No wonder we always like the Adam Sandler vibes. Like that. You know how, like, my dad, guys, for the longest time, I swear, my dad kept a pair of shoes for 10 years. Oh, my God. Well, even to this day, your dad probably has one pair of shoes that he wears. Yeah, and so I was like, why? Like, why doesn't my dad get more shoes? And now, like, look at me with my New Balances that I wear every freaking day. Every day. I wear them to the gym. I wear them to going out with the boys. I wear them, you know, so. Yeah, I think, it's hard, guys. And I just want to talk about it because I know that there's a lot of girls that relate to this. And I just wanted to tell you, like truly follow these pages. Like, even if you can't afford therapy, like, follow pages that will make you feel seen and heard. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if you've gone through this, your parents will never make you feel seen or heard because they had it 10 times worse than you. So they don't think that you should be struggling. They don't think that you're going through it, you know? So it's like, follow things that are going to make you feel heard and like, oh, this is normal for me to feel this way, you know? Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, babe, because when you told me what you wanted to talk about today, I was like, I can't, like, what am I going to talk about? Yeah. But, like, it's very important because now you get to see your spouse from a different perspective. Yeah. Like, now I get to see, like, damn, like, that's what my wife thinks. That's why she's such a provider for her family, this and that, you know? And also take it, maybe you're the youngest, but what's so neat and like, cool about psychology, I love psychology and TikTok and all this kind of shows you some, like, tips and tricks, but it's like, the couples, I you saw this too, right? The couples that make the two people that make the best couples are always the oldest, and then when the oldest child marries a youngest child, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The ones that always have the hardest time are when two older childs marry.
Oh, that's what we
And you
have a
would
hard
think
time.
that because you and I are the oldest, we can relate.
We
Babe,
can't.
remember the time you would have to get your brothers? No, yeah, babe, I would also have to take care of my brothers. They blah, blah, blah. And you just you think you drive off into the sunset talking about your trauma. But like, no, it's like, I think the one that I told you works is like the oldest with the youngest. It's like, because it's very one-sided. The oldest probably takes care of all the finances, takes care of all the, the nurturing and providing, and then maybe the youngest is there as like the
one that's
life,
taken care of.
yeah, like the life of the, let's go do this, let's go do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think, yeah, because I remember like Jonathan has come a long way, I'd say, because I remember you would always be like, why are you doing this? Why? And I would explain to him, well, because this and this and this. And I think now, like, you just accept me for who I am because you love me, but it's also because I've told you, like, my mom will always be my mom. Like, she'll always be my best friend. I will always provide for her. Like, my mom has not once in her entire life asked me for a dime ever. Like, any money that I've ever given her, nothing. She has never asked me for it. Not even in the sense where she's like, oh, like you know how there's some moms where it's like, oh, I really wish I had this, or really wish I had some money to buy this. Never. My mom has absolutely never. And so I think like that's what even makes me want to take care of her more. Like my mom has gone through so much that I want to take care of her, and I'm just glad that Jonathan accepted that, because I feel like a lot of Hispanic husbands too tend to be like, why, like I married you, I didn't marry your family, and I'm very blessed in that sense. But that's, I don't know, I just think it's like what's it called? Damn, I lost my train of thought. I got too into it.
No, but I mean, I do it because I love you, but I also see that it's not toxic.
Yeah.
I haven't had to step in because
like, it's not, no one's taking advantage of me.
Yeah, no one's taking advantage of you. That we have evaluated. When you go talk to your psychologist, babe, I'm pretty sure she or he will maybe say something different, but subconsciously,
Yeah.
Because like my mom taught me, there's active toxicity and passive toxicity. So maybe passively your family not stopping you from supporting them is also toxic.
Yeah.
Like, your mom or your dad.
Well, I'd say my dad, because my mom has always been like, don't do this, don't do
be
that.
Like, no, stop giving me money, or no, I have to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
That's also toxic.
That's true. I guess, yeah, you never know until you actually talk to a psychologist. But yeah, that's why Jonathan and I could never relate, because like he didn't grow up like he didn't grow up with his parents needing him for anything. Yeah. And I grew up with my parents needing me for everything.
But do you see how, like, we talked about how your mom went through the same thing, but then my grandparents were very well off, porque ellos les echaron ganas, and they've always had their businesses. So my parents, I don't know about now, but my parents never made more money than their parents. So they never had to support, So it's just like, really evaluate where you come from,
Yeah.
Because you never know. Like, I think about this, like I tell the girls and I tell, my brothers, I was like, you can see someone pretty like sitting across the room from you, whether that be at a bar or like, when you're single at school, but you don't know how much baggage that person,
the trauma,
not like baggage as in like bad, but like just their life story is insane,
How many chains they have on them.
Yeah. Exactly. What kind of chains they have on them.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm glad that like this generation though is like starting to break that. So I think as our children get older, like it's not like they're not gonna have no chains,
Yeah, I wonder like what will happen in like 30 years. Like if Franco learns good from us, and then his kids, he hopefully raises them, and it's like, damn, will we have world peace one day?
Maybe. Well, I feel like there's still bad apples.
There's still bad people and bad apples, but like, I feel like back in the 50s, I mean, husbands used to beat their wives and it was normal, blah, 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 blah. And now it's like there's more support all over the world,
Yeah.
And honestly, if you think about it, all the people making the dumb decisions about war and all that are still the boomers that don't die,
Yeah.
I feel like when we get that young president, when we get those young senators that are like Franco's age and they're the presidents, and the world maybe will be a better place,
Yeah, I guess all that to say, like, people don't change unless they want to, and you have to grow up with that mentality that's like, I'm gonna make it out, and it doesn't mean like you're gonna, you know, be this huge millionaire or whatever, but it's like just making it out of those generational curses is enough, because it's then gonna help your kids if you want to be a mom or a dad. But for now, it's like, damn, like I just wanted to talk to all my girlies out there that are the oldest daughters and love their parents so much, but don't see how all of that has hurt them unintentionally. Because I'm sure like parents don't mean it with the, like, it's like that saying that's like, our parents tried as hard as they could and as hard as they knew how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom tried, like the way my mom raised us is because she had really good parents. And I feel like the way my dad raised us, well, he didn't, because he didn't have any of that, you know. He struggled a lot with his parents too, with his dad.
And if you're not the oldest child, guys, like, I have two things for you. One, check up on your oldest sibling, because especially I can relate to someone, and it's funny that you're wearing her sweater, but I'm not going to talk about her story. That's her story. And I think she's talked about it before, but I moved out when I was 17, 18, and I fled. So that left like my sister, my younger sister, and then also Yadira in a way to take care of the household, because Yadira, very much like you, also takes care of her mom and does everything to provide, you know. And now my sister, when I left, she had all this burden, maybe not financially, of course, but like with all my brothers and their problems while I was out here gone, you know. Yeah. So I know there are a lot of siblings that didn't flee, that stuck with it, stuck with the trauma. Maybe they were too scared of leaving the house, because then their brothers and sisters would have a shittier life, you know, and they had to deal with their parents. And shout out to you. And if you have a sibling that didn't flee from the problems and the trauma and stuck it out for you, like, check up on them, you know, see how they're doing and help them out. And second, if you're not an oldest and you're the middle or the youngest, you rightfully so have your own traumas and your own experience that you dealt with, you know. And
I'd love to hear it in the comments. Like, what do you guys deal with? You know,
it's cool that there's this TikTok, and if you want to type it in, guys, it's just, I typed in oldest, middle, youngest child on TikTok, and then it takes you to this to these, like, it's called animations with a smiley, and then it shows you like being the middle child, and like, do you see how the oldest and the youngest are always in the stars of the show?
Oh, that's so sad.
Keep watching.
That's why we're only having two.
Like, you're erasing it. They're always in the back. Even though they're getting the same grades, the same everything, they're just being ignored. The parents are like in love with the youngest child because they're the baby, and the middle one got forgotten. When they have problems and depression or anxiety, they get like pushed aside and ignored. God. And you have the responsibilities of both the youngest and the oldest. So that, I thought that animation was really cool. I ain't never
having another kid. It's gonna be just these two.
It has the youngest, it has the oldest, and it has the middle. So everyone, even the youngest, and you might be like, what traumas could the youngest go through? If you think about it, guys, when everyone grows up and moves out, like, you're left alone in an empty house.
But even then, like, I just feel like every sibling has their own perspective of life.
Yeah.
Like how you were saying, when my mom talks about all her childhood stuff, she talks about it with joy. But when I think about like my aunts and my uncles and stuff, they think of it like, damn, we suffered a lot, you know, or we went through some shit. So it's just perspective. Like, we have no right to tell them how it is, you know, like they grew up with different. And that's how I remember my brother was sitting at the dinner table the other day, and he was telling me, or I told him something, and he's like I was like, oh yeah, when I was a certain age, and he was like 13, and then he's like, no dude, that was the shittiest time for us. Don't you remember? And I was like, no, I don't remember. He's like, yeah, that's when we struggled the most. I'm like, damn, like, do you see, like, I probably have that stored somewhere in my memory where I don't remember, or where I just, you know, didn't struggle like he did because he was old and he knew what was going on, you know. So it's like, yeah, you don't have the right to tell your siblings like, that's not how it happened, because everyone has their own perspective and how they grew up and what struggles even, like, they had.
The order matters, like youngest to oldest to youngest, but also the gender. Like, we just talked about it, like you and me, like, even if you were the oldest daughter and I was, you know, like, the oldest daughter has the truly oldest daughter, like, not just, you know, like your situation, like the oldest would also have like a different experience than the oldest boy, you know. So, and it also depends how many like like, I don't know, if you have 3 girls in the family and 1 boy as compared to 3 boys and 1 girl, like, you know?
Damn.
Whereas like
that's
maybe
true.
a family that has 3 girls, the girls probably get treated as like servants and slaves or like babysitters. Whereas like if it was the other way around and there was 3 boys and 1 girl, that girl would probably be treated as a queen. Like, what do you need? Daddy's girl, mommy's girl, whatever, and would be like a princess. Does that make sense? So everyone has their own baggage and their own chains, guys. And we just want to say that we're extremely proud of every single one of you.
Yes.
No matter where you think you're in life, or like, I know with the whole social media thing, it might be very frustrating to see like all these people making money and you're just like trapped in a job or something like that. And we just want to say that we are so proud of you, because money does not define success. Followers don't, or happiness, or followers, or anything like that. If you are happy with yourself, if you're healthy and you got a dog or a cat, you are doing better than literally 80% of the world.
Yeah, and just remember, like, you control the things that you see. So if you are following people that make you feel bad, make you feel like, you know, any type of way, literally unfollow them and follow people that make you feel happy, that are positive, that brighten up your day instead of make you feel worse than you already do, you know?
Yeah.
So just remember that you can control all of that. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Because like we were talking about last night, we don't have a time machine. Don't focus on the past. And it's always, I'm going to leave you guys with the thing that I would always tell Jonathan. And it's like a really good message. It's like, if you think about the past, you're depressed. Yeah, if you think about the past, you're depressed. And if you think about the future, you're anxious. So just be in the present and focus on what you can control and what you can do today in this moment. Don't focus about yesterday. Don't try to change something that happened yesterday, and don't think about what the heck is going to happen tomorrow. Live today and focus on what you can control today and this day.
Perfect, babe. Like Master Oogway said. You know who that is?
Nope.
The turtle in Kung Fu Panda.
Oh.
The present is a gift. That's why it's called a present.
Sheesh.
Kung Fu Panda dropping the freaking bangers. But
For real.
yeah, guys, what are we at, babe?
We are 54.
Dang, that's perfect.
I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast.
Babe. I'm glad you brought up this topic.
I just needed to vent a little bit and just needed to have some girlies feel heard and seen, and just know, you know, we see you, we hear you, and we're sorry that you had to go through all of this, but we're here to break the chains.
Yeah, guys, go check out the Vibe and merch. Like I said, like we repeat, 20% goes towards providing free therapy. And I know we don't post about it too much, or like I haven't had time to edit the videos, but man, my mom tells us that she's very proud of us because we're helping so many people. There's stories from like that range from one spectrum to the other: sexual abuse, domestic abuse, all kinds of other really fucked up shit that has happened in this world, guys. And she's like, I am so proud of you guys, that even if this little clothing brand can help one person, like, and I guess I didn't think about this through, and I say me because I'm the one that like handles kind of the logistics. I never realized that, you know, how can I prove to people we're helping without having to expose their identity? Because a lot of people are vulnerable by coming to do this, or when they get picked, they specifically ask not to be anonymous. I've tried telling people, hey, if we blur your face, if we change your voice, and they still don't want to do it. And that's something I also want to respect. I obviously respect. And there's another thing, and I was going to do this. I was like, well, in the survey you guys fill out, I'm just going to put, are you okay to be on social media? And I'm going to do people that don't, but I'm also going to pick a little bit more people that are okay to be. But at the same time, I'm like, that's also messed up. Like, imagine someone really going through some shit and they're lonely, and it's like, oh, if I don't share my story, I'm not going to get the help.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I really haven't made an effort towards changing that application, because we've just been helping people behind the scenes. And I don't want to be like rude or anything, but believe what you want. And if there's people that say we're not doing anything or something like that, that's very much wrong. That's
what I was going to say. Like, we're taking the hit right now.
Yeah.
Where people are probably like, well, where are all these like testimonies? Where can you prove me where, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we need to figure out that side of Vibin and see how we can start getting some testimonies out. Maybe you could, I don't know, even like write like the post that you just saw, like maybe write a story like that of take someone's story, like testimony, like without
stick figures.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do that, because my mom's like, there's such amazing stories, but that you just can't share, you know, and the world will never know. But there's crazy stuff, guys, that she tells me, like the overall topic that you would never in 100 years think like that's something a family is going through.
Yeah.
That these girls carry with themselves, and it's like it's crazy, guys. So like we've helped so many people. He's open, like he's okay for me to say this, but even my barber, a few months ago, he was like, hey, my wife is going through some stuff, she's not feeling good, like can we figure out like a way where like I give you free haircuts and she gets therapy? And I was like, no, man, like I'm gonna continue paying you for the haircut. That's what Vibin is for. Vibin is here to help everyone and anyone. And she's been going to therapy, and there's a time when like my mom released her, but then she started feeling bad again. So then we gladly took her back, and she's in therapy again right now, just as like maintenance to help her. So it's like, I just really wish if you guys could ever take our word for something, it's this.
Please take our word for this.
We would never steal people's money. We would never
or lie.
Yeah, it's just and we'll figure it out, guys. Once Belinda's a little bit older, once we get maybe the proper help. I've been looking into like business managers and stuff like that. Maybe there's a loophole where we can like I was also thinking like very quickly like show like blur all the faces, but like just show like quickly like how it like sped up how many people we've helped, something like that. But we'll figure it out, guys.
Yeah, but anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in this week. We will see you guys next week.
Later.
Yay Networks.